right, we are live. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna, as you know, CEO of MaxWeb. And if you want to learn more about what we do, maxweb.com, there we go. But today, I am very, very honored and excited to share with you a very special guest. His name is Stefan Giorgi, and I have been trying to get him on forever, and he was gracious enough to make time for us. So, Stefan, hi, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Anna. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to do this.
I am so honored to have you. I am a fan. I know a lot of our affiliate partners and the offers we run are more amazing because of your expertise. So we all really appreciate you.
Yeah, well, no, it's my pleasure, and I'm glad to feed into the ecosystem. I love our space and love being a part of it.
I love it. So what I usually like to do, we keep it pretty informal, and a lot of our friends are going to be listening to this later on their drive to work or just as they, finish some ads. So let's pretend some of the viewers don't know who you are. So share a bit of background about, who you are. And what I would love to know is how you got into copy, because I bet that's a fun little story there.
For sure. So yeah, my name is Stefan Giorgi, but people pronounce it different ways. So if lots of people say Giorgi or Stefan, but anyway, I'm a direct response copywriter. I'm a marketer. I have sold over $1 billion worth of stuff with my words, both for my own offers and then for various clients and things that I've written for them. That entails getting some really good clients, getting lucky. Like I wrote some of V-Shred's biggest offers, and those guys do a couple $100 million a year. So when you're like, how do you get to $1 billion, right? That's stuff like that. But I started in 2011. I met my now wife at a poker table in Vegas, and at the time I had no idea what copywriting even was. And she got seated at our poker table, and somebody asked her what she did for a living. She said, I'm a writer. I said, what kind of writer? She said, I'm a copywriter. And I said, wow, a copywriter, how cool. And I pulled out my iPhone 1 or whatever I had back then and Googled under the table, what's a copywriter? Because I had no idea, but I wanted to talk to her. So that was my discovery of copywriting.
I had no idea. That's amazing. So cool.
Yeah. And from there, I took a kind of last corporate job. I'm the kind of person who I could get hired at for decent jobs, but it's never stuck around. I didn't get fired. I just couldn't do it. I hated how slow the corporate world moved. And so, I took a last job in South Florida. She came and visited. And then after a few months of going out and being in the hot Florida sun and this outdoor sales job and making, $200 a day and coming home, and she was in her underwear drinking a beer and she made, $800 in the same day or $1,000. I was like, hey, I want to do this copywriting thing. So I put up an ad to hire me as a copywriter. I woke up the next day with $300 in my PayPal account. And, I was like, well, that's it. Quit my corporate job and dove into the world of freelance and copy. And I haven't looked back since. So yeah, that was the start.
That's incredible. Well, I had no idea that, she was the reason why you're doing this. I think she's such a talented copywriter. So, it's a double honor to know that. How amazing. And you're right. I mean, before I got into this industry, that's a nice way to put it. The 9 to 5, the pace is just not exciting enough, right? And a lot of us in our space, we all we might be seen as quirky from the outside world, but that's probably because we are always looking for something more, right?
Yeah.
In the normal 9 to 5 ecosystem, it's okay to settle for less, but we always want more, and we know it's possible. So that's cool, and that's okay, right? I think a lot of the time we're told that we need to settle. And I always, any opportunity I get to tell our friends and audience to not settle. There's a lot of financial stability possibilities out there. And a big reason why we do the podcast is to show you real life humans that are very successful with what they do. So we had affiliates, we had product owners for you. It was really important for me to bring someone that actually really knows what they're talking about when it comes to copy. And obviously we got lucky. So, I would love for you to actually share, the specific mistakes you were telling me about when we were deciding on a topic for the podcast. So, I'm excited. I want to learn. I have my notepad here. I'm going to take notes.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to share. So yeah, let me see if I can share my screen, and if I can't, then I will go through them verbally, which will be fine here. Let me give
No
it
problem.
one
And
shot.
I'll tell everyone, the story, not the story, but what I was saying before I hit the live button. This, what happens to me every time when I have a digital conference. People assume just because I'm, in the affiliate marketing space and digital space that I'm always very good with everything technical, which is not the case. Many times I had to fix my mic or my lighting or not being able to pull my slides. So, it happens. I mean, plus with StreamYard, we're using StreamYard to do the podcast. It's a bit more different because when you share your screen, you have to have like a settings for Chrome. So it's different.
Yeah, and it looks like with StreamYard here, unfortunately, it's not, the screen share is probably not going to work for right now, but that's okay. I can I'll go through them and we'll do it verbally. So I'll list out kind of the 5 ones, and honestly, you have to, as a marketer, copywriter, like you had to pick a number, so I picked 5. But there's honestly even more, but these are 5 of the sort of biggest ones that I see. So I'll list out all 5, and then I'll share some examples after that. So I've got number 1 is not leading with curiosity, and I'll explain that in a moment. Really important. By the way, I see a lot of people commenting, like Andra and Carol and Papu and Daisy and Kamashki, and so say hi to everyone. I always love engaging with people. So yeah, number 1, not leading with curiosity. Number 2 is going into teaching mode. Okay, in the lead. Dane, hey, I've heard good things about that, Dane Alexander.
I know.
We were just talking about you, Dane. Number 3 is not answering what's in it for me, or I call it, well, I'm not the one who calls it this, but with them, WIIFM, or what's in it for me. Number 4 is sounding like a 1950s madman, and I'll explain that one in a minute. And then number 5 is not including fascinations or curiosity bullets, and we'll go through examples of all of those. So again, sorry I can't share my screen, but it'll make it work. So let's start with not leading with curiosity, right? When you look at your like a headline or the lead, and whether this is for an ad or a long form sales letter or video sales letter, whatever it is, really I was actually talking to Rich Sheffrin yesterday, and he put it really well. He was like, your lead is almost like an advertisement for the rest of your ad, right? Like the lead is really like an ad for your ad. So like literally all you want to do with your lead is you want to get people hooked, interested, and curious, so that they'll keep going and engaging with the rest of your copy. And we, if you look at Videolytics or Wistia or anything like that, you'll kind of always see that there's that exponential thing where somebody will stick around for the first 10 seconds, then they'll stick around for 30 seconds. If they stick around for 30 seconds, then they'll stick around for 2 minutes. If they stick around for 2 minutes, they'll stick around for 5 minutes, and so forth. And the longer you get somebody to stick around in your sales copy, the more likely they are to end up converting and buying whatever it is you're selling. So given that's the case, the job of the lead is really to create curiosity, to have somebody so curious about what you're talking about that they have to know more. You create an itch that they're just begging you to scratch. And then you also need to answer what's in it for them, and some of the other stuff we'll talk about. But curiosity specifically, I have an example from an ad for a weight loss like supplement that I'm running with a business partner. And we've got a great doctor spokesperson, awesome product, all that kind of stuff. And we had some different copywriters trying to kind of write ads for us. And so the idea around it is that if you want to lose weight, you need to save your endangered fat. That's sort of our like hook for this, right? This is the idea that you actually have, people always talk about like losing, like killing fat or burning fat cells, but actually, you have a certain type of fat in your body that's endangered. And if it's like a good fat and you want to save your endangered fat. And spoiler alert, it's like brown fat, which isn't the sexiest thing because people know about brown fat. So rather than talk about brown fat, we talk about saving your endangered fat, right? That's our sort of big idea or hook. So I'll just give you an example. This one guy wrote an ad for us, and it starts off like this. A lot of people don't believe me. It's coming from the doctor. A lot of people don't believe me when I tell them that there are endangered fats stored in the body, fats that are actually causing fatigue, bloatedness, and tiredness. And most of my patients after the age of 40 look to me for help. So that's how he started his, okay? And it's like, that's not bad. There are endangered fats stored in the body. But I was looking at that and I'm like, well, how do we make it really, especially this is for a Facebook ad, how do we really grab somebody's attention right away? So when I thought about endangered, I started thinking about like endangered animals. And I'm like, all right, like, well, what can we do there? So basically for my ad, we have the doctor starting by holding a picture of a rhinoceros in his hand, right? Because it's going to grab your attention on this Facebook ad.
Oh, cool.
And then it goes, what do your fat cells in these rhinoceros, or what do your fat cells in this rhinoceros have in common, right? Crazily enough, they're both endangered. And while it's tragic that rhinos are endangered, we can't do anything about that today. When it comes to your endangered fat cells, they could be the real reason you struggle to lose weight, especially after 40. Now, you might think endangered fat cells. What does that mean? It turns out there are two extra important types of fat cells when it comes to slimming down. One type that tells your body to cling on to fat, and one that tells your body to burn that fat for energy. And we kind of keep going from there, right? But like that idea of like, what do your fat cells in this rhino have in common? It's a very different ad than sort of like, hey, you've got endangered fat, and it's so important that you just that very first sentence, especially for ads, but you've got to just grab their attention. So that's kind of an example of leading with curiosity. I'll do another example here for another product with that same partner for a cleanse, where basically our hook for that one, the product is called Slim Belly Cleanse. And the hook in the headline is, could hidden constipation be the real culprit behind our bloated, swollen stomachs? Plus a simple 20-second fix that can rapidly improve digestion, slim down our bellies, return bowel movements to regularity without detoxes, master cleanses, or turning your insides into a gurgling, swirling vortex of discomfort, right? But the big idea here is hidden constipation. So I heard an echo for myself, but I'm sure we'll disappear. There it goes. Okay. So
and I love, and I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
I'm fire hosing. I like to fire hose. So let's take a breather for a second. It's probably better.
I know. I just thank you so much for actually giving us specific examples, because you and I, we spoke on stages before. We hear many of our friends do that, and people get lazy after a point. I'm just going to call them out, and they start sharing just a lot of general stuff, and thank you. I mean, how refreshing. I even underlined the first idea because we run a lot of Facebook ads. So, save your endangered fat. That's such a good, obviously we're not going to copy or, headline, but it's just such a good idea, and I love that. Thank you. It's so refreshing.
Oh yeah. No, it's my pleasure. I'm all about sharing and yeah, of course I don't want anybody to rip me off. Although my attitude has always been that I'll just share really openly. 99% of the time I don't get ripped off. If I do get ripped off, then I just say, all right, well, now I got to innovate and be even better. Because if you're someone who just is going to rip off, right, then it's like you're always a step behind the person who's innovating. So, you can do great as a person who does that, but I'd rather be at the forefront. So, yeah, cool. So this is like hidden constipation one, right? And here's the lead for this after the headline. Dear friend, it's from a different doctor, but dear friend, it happens so often. Patients will come to me with bloating, low energy, infrequent or inconsistent bowel movements. Sometimes they complain about a bulging belly that they just can't seem to flatten no matter how much diet and exercising they do. A lot of them tell me that they get mentally exhausted halfway through the day, or that they're sick of dealing with mystery skin issues like redness, flakiness, or breakouts. Without fail, they're always surprised when I say that the real culprit might be something called hidden constipation, where there's a log jam happening inside the digestive system, and it's taking far too long for foods we eat to come out on the other side. These patients are even more startled when I tell them that they can poop regularly and still suffer from hidden constipation. And yet it's exceedingly common, especially for adult women, along with men and women who are in their late 30s or older. You see that you may have normal digestion in your 20s, your early 20s, but around the time you turn 40, food can start to get stuck in transit, and you can begin to feel more and more like something is off inside of you as a result. And it goes on from there. But again, concepts here being, if you're suffering with bloating, or you sort of feel like your stomach's always bulging out, or you have low energy, and the idea of hidden constipation, you're like, what the hell is hidden constipation, right? And then when you say you can poop regularly and still suffer from hidden constipation, right? Then you're like, what? How is that possible? Constipation, I can poop and be constipated, right? So the whole goal is just curiosity, right? And that's it. Like that's literally all we want is create curiosity to create that itch And we're talking about these pain points that if somebody relates to those pain points and they're like, it could be this one thing that's the problem, that they're going to want to keep going to find out what the problem is and how they solve it, right? So yeah, curiosity, that's number one.
Love it. Awesome.
Cool.
What's number two? I want to know.
Right. So number two is going into teaching mode and creating a lot of complexity around it. So going back to the weight loss one, and then the junior writer, one thing I noticed in this person, he wrote all these ads for me, and he's a talented young writer. He's very early on in his sort of career, but like almost every single ad would start to explain about brown fat and white fat, right? Or so, for example, I'll read just some excerpts from several of these ads. Like, here's what I mean. There are two different types of fats in our body. One type of fat is bad and can result in a metabolic cascade, and we don't want that because it correlates to numerous health-related problems such as fatigue, bloating, and loss of energy. The other one is a good type of fat, and it can assist in gaining a slimmer waist and support healthier weight in general. So far, so good. Then it goes, specifically, it's a type of fat called brown fat, and you may have heard of it from a Nobel Prize-winning scientist. I found a way to activate it, and it activates the brown fat in order to speed up I found a way to simply activate it, and when you activate brown fat, it can speed up your metabolism. Okay, that's one ad. Now add the next ad he gave me. Like, there are brown fat cells which are completely different. The white fat wants to store more fat as possible, whereas brown fat wants to burn it off ASAP. The very next ad here, blah, blah, blah. Actually, this one, brown fat, or as we call it, brown adipose tissue, or BAT for short, can help speed up the fat burning process. That's how it starts. Next ad here, let's see. The answer may surprise you. A Nobel Prize-winning scientist thinks they have found the cause, and it has to do with brown fat, a type of fat that helps speed up the fat-burning process. But so basically, like, the issue with all these ads is like, okay, first of all, like, if somebody's heard of brown fat already, then they may not find it interesting. But if as a writer, this is going for the copywriters out there or people who write their own ads, if you give me 10 ads and every single one of them is talking about brown fat, so if brown fat doesn't resonate with the market, then every single one of those ads bombs, right? You're creating a state of fragility versus anti-fragility, right? Because it's like there's no robustness. It's like if there's either brown fat works in every ad or it doesn't work in any of your ads, and all your ads bomb. And not only that, but they don't need to know about brown fat in this ad. The point of the ad is just to get them to click to the lead. We don't talk about brown fat in the lead, right? The point of the lead is to get them to keep going. So if you go back to my rhino one, I'll read that one again, and then you'll see kind of how I do it, right? So again, what do your fat cells and this rhinoceros have in common? Crazily enough, they're both endangered. And while it's tragic that rhinos are endangered, we can't do anything about that today. But when it comes to your endangered fat cells, they could be the real reason you struggle to lose weight, especially over 40. Now, you might think endangered fat cells, what does that mean? Well, it turns out there are two extra important types of fat cells when it comes to slimming down. One type that tells your body to cling on to fat, and one that tells your body to burn that fat for energy. The type that burns your fat for energy starts to disappear in our bodies as we get older. We have less and less of it, which is why I say it's endangered. It's really important that we find ways to bring back and restore those endangered fat cells. And that's exactly what I want to show you how to do right now. So click the button above or below the video right now, and you'll see a very simple and easy protocol that helps to preserve your endangered fat. I know it might seem counterintuitive that you'd want to save your fat, but I'll show you the science behind everything I'm saying when you click that button, and you'll see how saving this one type of endangered fat in your body can make a huge difference in your efforts to lose weight and support your health. As a doctor with over 2 decades of experience, this has become one of my favorite things to recommend to people, is to go see how it works for yourself right now, right? So we're still talking about 2 types of fat cells, but then we're sort of stopping and going on to selling the click. We're not like talking about 2 types and then going to teaching mode or explaining mode and being like, one type is brown fat. Here's what brown fat does. One type is white fat. Like, we don't need to do that. And if you go to the lead for this offer, which I'll pull up real quick here, I know you won't be able to see it, but I'll read it.
Well, honestly, I'm sure everyone prefers to see you because, that's an honor, you guys.
Good.
I know. And I just want to make a quick note for everyone. We are going to upload the podcast on YouTube and Facebook. So if you're like me and you love to take a lot of notes, later tonight, you're going to be able to pause, write out the sentence, and go, do your thing. So don't worry. We'll have it live after as well.
Yeah, I could apologize for fire hosing people, but I've just learned to accept it. I'm a fire hoser by nature, and you can hold on to something and lean into it, or you can run for cover. It's up to you.
We don't see like that. We see it as an abundance of knowledge. Bring it in. We're ready.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Yeah, it's like pause it. Take one thing from this interview. You know what I mean? You don't have to take every single thing I'm saying. Take one or two things and you'll be better off than if you didn't. So, the lead, I'll just read part of the lead and the headline for that, where the ad for that weight loss one goes to, right? One of America's most celebrated medical doctors has a new announcement: save your endangered fat. Plus, inside this letter, why Swedish scientists from the Nobel Prize Consortium believe this one thing could help explain why it can be challenging to slim down, especially after we hit the age of 40, and the simple ritual that can help support our body's natural fat burning potential. You'll notice I'm trying to make this is a Facebook offer, so I'm keeping the language very kind of compliant, help support our body's fat burning potential, could explain why, all that, right? But save your endangered fat. And then the lead to this, my patients always come to me and ask the same thing: Dr. Umansky, what's a healthy way to burn fat? And I always love seeing the shock in their eyes when I say these 4 words: save your endangered fat. It sounds totally counterintuitive. Everything we hear is about getting rid of fat. What if I told you that the key could be to activate the fat you already have within your body? Specifically, I'm talking about activating the young fat you had when you were a kid, a special kind of tissue that kept us slim with a high metabolism, but that as we age begins to die off, releasing a type of metabolic cascade that can make it difficult for some folks to burn fat or achieve a healthy weight. Not only that, but these endangered fat cells can also make you so tired you can't help but come home and crash on your couch. They can lead to constant struggles with brain fog or have you struggling with cravings. The kinds where you find yourself hunched over the inside of your refrigerator at 10 p.m., gorging on junk food you know you shouldn't eat. Don't worry, I've been there myself. Well, in a moment, I'm going to show you the cutting-edge research from the Nobel Prize granting Swedish Institute that suggests all this could come back to your endangered fat cells, as well as a simple morning time ritual that could allow us to reactivate these cells. And it kind of goes from there. But again, it's not like you've got brown fat and you've got white fat. When brown fat, it's like we don't need to do that. It's curiosity, and then just like, that's it. Basically not becoming a teacher in the lead. You'll teach later in the sales letter, right? There comes a point in an ad, you don't really ever need to teach a lot. You may give them one little thing, one sort of teaching tidbit. Like if you're doing biz op type stuff and you're like, for example, like try Pomodoros where you work for 25 minutes and stop for 5 minutes, right? Like that's one way to be more effective. But there's actually 3 ways to be even more effective that I'll share when you click this link. So like, you may give them like a little tidbit, but we don't want to go into explaining. We just want to, it really ties into curiosity. Like our goal is curiosity, not teaching. So that's number 2. You ready for number 3?
We are.
Okay, awesome. So number 3 is going back to the mistake would be not answering what's in it for me, right? What's in it for me being when somebody, there's like the classic movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy or something like that, or it's like this, tribe on like a deserted island and like a Coke can falls from the sky and this is like an uncontacted tribe and they, look at the Coke can and they basically, I think they I don't even see the movie, but that's the premise. And I think they fight a war over it and they think it's from God and all this stuff, right? But like, I joke that your ads are like the Coke can from the sky because, somebody's on Facebook and they're like, busy arguing about politics or they're catching up on their friends' babies or they're spying on their ex or they're doing whatever they're doing and they're scrolling through and suddenly, your ad, like a Coke can from the sky falls in front of them and it catches their attention and then they even click on it, which is crazy, right? They didn't go on Facebook to buy something. They went on Facebook to spy or fight or argue or post selfies or whatever, sending of Instagram or YouTube or whatever, right? So but they click. And then like once they click, they go to your sales letter or your VSL or whatever. And they start reading, they click the play button. Amazing. But like there's gonna come a point really fast where they pause and they're like, wait, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I here reading this or watching this, right? It's going to happen. And so that's why it's so important that very quickly you need to answer what's in it for them, why they should keep reading or watching or engaging, even with the ad, why they should read the ad. Because otherwise they're going to go away. So like a good example of this would be, really the examples that I've already shared with you about like sort of, I'm going to share like a ritual, I'm going to show you the cutting edge research from the Nobel Prize granting Swedish Institute that suggests, these things could come back to these endangered fat cells, as well as a simple morning time ritual that could allow us to reactivate these cells. It goes on this lead, something that supports your body as it sheds fat, that can help your efforts towards a flatter belly and waist, and that often leaves folks saying they feel more confident in their own body. It just takes 10 seconds per day. It's something you can use no matter how much you might have struggled in the past. So if you just hang out with me for the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly why your endangered fat cells could be making it so much harder to burn fat, as well as a simple morning ritual that releases a fat burning cascade And that can make it possible for those who use it to fit into old clothes again, feel better about what they see in the mirror, and experience a flood of youthful energy that fills their veins, right? So it's all about like you. And now in this case, it's for Facebook, so we're kind of saying them and their a bit more. They're not always just saying you specifically, because Facebook, we have to be careful.
Perfect. A lot of the people that are watching us right now, they're doing Facebook ads, so it's really nail on.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, it's what's cool. My partner at the one venture, I mean, he was already doing like 60 million a year with supplement stuff, like all like basically on Facebook, but they have a huge media buying team. So it's been great for me because then I'm writing Facebook ads using other writers and getting all this data on what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, but you know, the same principles that apply for all direct response apply here. I mean, really the big difference is, you know, with Facebook, it's compliance and claims and things of that nature. But yeah, it was answering what's in it for them. You know, another example. So there's a Mike Tyson offer you may have seen on Native. It's I Am 21. And it's for a like a pre-workout type of thing. So you know, it's my buddy Steve Gunn's offer. He had the Tommy Chong CBD offer before that. That's still running and doing well. And you know, he had me, you know, do a new lead to try to beat his control, and I did. I beat it by like 30%, and then he just did another test, and you know, beat my new lead became the control, and then we did another test with that plus a new checkout, and then basically like a 70% lift, and you know, now he's at where he can scale to like 1,000 sales a day and beyond. And like, you know, let me pull these up and share the sort of examples here, and hopefully for all the people watching, I see Mark and Razvan and Nafal and everyone. So those of you, you know, who are with us here, hopefully you're all getting value from this. Is this good? Can you give us comments here on the live if you're getting value, if you're finding this helpful?
I'm sure they are. And, you know, this is what we are looking for, right? People that share their, you know, what works, what's, you know, valuable. This is what we need to know. And, you know, I would love to see the ad. We do a lot of native as well, not just Facebook. And I would love for you to share the ad, the one that be the control, not the Mike Tyson one. So
right,
you have that handy.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So here's Mike Tyson. Here's the original control for the sales letter. I'll read the headline and a little bit more. You know, Mike Tyson reveals for the first time, your muscles are dying and they're taking you with them. Every day you lose a little more strength, a little more speed, and a little more pride. Every ounce of muscle loss is replaced with a pound of fat or more, making you feel tired, weak, and soft. So that part's good. It kind of talks to the prospect. And then it says, in all the solutions you've heard of and maybe even tried, from eating more protein and even exercise, might be making the problem worse. And then here's the lead. Faram, what's up, buddy? And Carol and Kevin. Yeah, okay. So my name is Mike Tyson. I don't like to brag anymore, but I know you've heard of me. 30 years ago, I was the undisputed heavyweight boxing champion of the world, the youngest heavyweight champ in history, a record that will never be broken, the youngest man to unify all 3 heavyweight titles and become the undisputed world champ. But fast forward to last year, and I wasn't fighting for a title. I was fighting for my life. I was fat, sick, and damn near dead. 100 pounds overweight, weaker than I'd been since I was 14 years old, insulin resistance, high blood pressure. My cardiologist warned me that I had to get it together or prepare for a heart attack or stroke. It was pathetic. I had walked away from boxing at the height of my fame in order to save my sanity and my soul. More on that in a second. And it almost cost me my life. What's crazy is that this wasn't the warning. That wasn't the warning from my doctor that set me straight. It was my pride. An embarrassing wake-up call last year led me to realize that I had to act fast or risk dying and leaving my family alone to face the world without me. That one moment itself, a transformation that shocked the world and sent me into the fight of my life to reclaim my body and my legacy once for all. Now, it keeps going for quite a while here. But the thing is, it's good copy, but it's all about Mike Tyson, right? And like, so we're like, okay, cool, Mike. Like Mike Tyson's famous enough, and Steve's really partnered with Mike Tyson. This isn't like, you know, he's not like, and Mike Tyson's famous enough that people want to hear about Mike Tyson. But at a certain point, you're like, all right, Mike Tyson, like, you know, like, what's in it for me? Why am I reading this letter, right? I was looking at weather.com, or I was on Forbes or my local newspaper, and I saw this native ad and clicked on it. And like, you know, suddenly here I am, but I'm like, well, this is kind of interesting, but is it enough to get me to keep going? So let me go to my variant here, which, you know, still talks about Mike Tyson at first, but I try to pivot to the what's in it for me faster. And I got a little more intense with it because, you know, as you read the letter, there's stuff about Mike. He basically had issues with his weight his whole life, which I didn't know. And as a former fat kid when I was young, I'm like, okay, can relate. So I'll read the headline for this one. This is the control now. Mike Tyson's confessional bombshell. I used to talk about ripping my opponent's hearts out, but inside I've always felt like a fat, scared little kid. Here's how the champ finally reclaimed his manhood, all while dropping 83 pounds of retirement weight that had been piling onto his gut and leaving him sluggish, exhausted, and knocking at death's door. Freak athlete, an animal inside the ring, not human. Anyone who's old enough to remember me in my prime probably has an image of me like this, and it's an image of Tyson in like the 80s, 90s, like super jacked. What if I told you that inside my own head, I've always seen myself like this? A picture of like fat Mike Tyson from a few years ago, right? That's a photo of me from a few years back. And while my weight gain was shocking to a lot of people, to me, that was how it was always going to be. Me, a fat piece of shit. And the truth is that when my weight started to skyrocket a few years back, at first I didn't even care. I'd always been fat inside my mind ever since the 80s when people would comment on my weight constantly. And it shows a headline from the 80s where they called him the overweight heavyweight. And the truth is, I did things to stay skinny that would make people with an eating disorder blush. I'll share more about some of the most, I don't know if we're concussed or not, but there's cussing in this. So am I allowed to cuss on this? Is that okay?
You are.
I'll share more.
Targeting.
Yeah, this is fun about this one because it's from Mike Tyson. He cusses. I'll share more about some of the most fucked up things I was doing behind the scenes in a minute. But more importantly, in the next few moments, I want to tell you how I woke the fuck up. How I dropped over 83 pounds and how for the first time in my life, I lost this weight the right way by making one single change to my diet. This is something that I know pretty much anyone can do too. You don't need to be a genetic freak. I'll prove that inside this letter. And the single tweak has already helped thousands of guys to drop an extra 7, 15, even 22 pounds from their bellies while taking a rolling pin to their saggy man boobs and replacing them with flat, hard pecs. And it's leaving them feeling like a virile, powerful animal all day long and all night long too. For me personally, this one single change to my diet allowed me to start burning away the pounds of fat I'd been packing on for years. I've been building hard muscle like I had back when I was on top of the world. I was sleeping like a baby each night and waking up with all day energy. And really, I just felt like a superhuman again for the first time since the 90s. And here's a spoiler for you. Although this one diet tweak I made did end up putting my body into a highly anabolic state, one where it was like my stomach had no option but to turn fat into muscle, and where my senses got heightened and I started feeling like an apex predator. This one change I did to my diet has nothing to do with steroids, testosterone, or HGH, and I sure as shit wasn't doing cardio or prancing around in some Pilates class either. Nope, I kept eating like the fat kid I'd always believed myself to be, but it just didn't matter. My body came alive, and now I want to share my secret with you. Because no matter if you're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, or you're some white-bearded, wrinkly-ass old geriatric in a nursing home, making this one single change to your diet can transform your physical performance along with the way you look, move, and feel, starting almost right away. Curious? Let's jump in, right? So, like, basically, again, we're still telling the story, but we're switching very quickly to, I'm going to tell you how I woke up, how I did these changes, and then how you can do the same thing no matter where you're at, what your age is. This one tweak's already helping more people. So it's a huge, huge difference. And I think that's a huge reason why, that lead made such a big lift. I mean, it was like only a couple hundred words that I wrote for Steve, but it increased the words by 30%. Thank you.
We write out a lot of pre-sales and pre-landers for YouTube as well. It's no secret we have wonderful partnership with Outbrain or Rep Content, and we send a lot of native traffic. And I know the media buyers would be so excited. They probably have no idea. I had no idea that you were the person behind that ad, because we know it. We've seen it on the spy tools, and that's great copy. I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so happy to share, and it's fun. It's one of the best parts of being a copywriter is getting to write for people like Mike Tyson, or I did one of the new leads for the Tommy Chong offer, or just famous doctors, and just I don't know. I think that part's really fun because you get to come into contact with these incredible people and capture their voice, and it's just a lot of fun. So
cool.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So mistake number 4 will be easier. I won't. This is a quick one, sort of. But it goes back to not sounding like a 1950s madman. And what I really mean with mistake number 4, and what's up, Iman, what's up? I don't know how to pronounce your name. And I know her really well, but I don't know how to pronounce her name well. But okay, 1950s madman. So what I mean here is, like, some people write copy, and this is especially true with ad copy, Facebook ads, really everything. And they write, they get this voice in their head of like a 1950s character from the show Mad Men, where it's like, I imagine them like, in like a smoky cigarette, and they're like, like, if you're a man who's between the age of 40 and 50 and you suffer from this, then, pay attention, because the next 5 minutes could change your life. Indeed, it's true. Like right now, like and it's like weird, like verbiage and stuff that's just not conversational. Iman, like poke Iman. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Sorry, but it's like not conversational. It's like it's. I mean, really, the other way you could say is that the opposite or antonym to sounding like a 1950s madman is like talk conversationally, talk like people speak, or sorry, write conversationally, write like people speak. Write like you're with a friend having a glass of wine or a martini, and you're telling them about some crazy thing you discovered, and you're just trying to share like that with them. Right. That's how you should be writing. And people who are good writers and great conversationalists go to write and they think they need to write in this like kind of editorial standpoint of like, ask your friends, ask your brothers, and surely they will tell you nothing is greater than the feeling of this. It's like nobody talks that way. So why are you writing that way? Right. That's just like a huge important point. But I see that mistake, especially newer kind of like writers and people with not a lot of experience. They almost get this weird voice in their head. So sounds simple, but it's a huge make or break thing because you want to come across as authentic. Like you don't want your ad to feel like an ad. That should seem so obvious, right? That's why native ads we just talked about works so well. Yeah. It's why, Facebook ads will kind of teach you something, but they don't overteach. They may give you one thing, but like, the whole point is that it's engaging content or something fascinating and not like it's that Coke can from the heavens again and not an ad. So if you write where it just sounds like an ad, you're basically signifying to the prospect, like, hey, I'm going to sell you something. And immediately the resistance, the guard, the shields go up and they're like, I'm out. So,
and think about I want to add something. Think about the customers, right? Because for ads, I always talk about the audience when we write something and how important it is to understand the audience. So you said something brilliant, which is something simple yet so important. You want your ad to sound conversational. And that's so important to our generation, or even to people that are buying most of our products, right? Even the boomers now, and how they relate to the outside dynamics of the world. If you start with that voice, if you are a man, right, they're not going to buy into it. To understand your audience also means knowing that you need to have the ad sound conversational. So that's brilliant.
100%. Yeah, and like entertaining too. And by the way, I see Mulai Pro also. I gotta give her a shout out. And Madalena, I'm glad you're enjoying this too. My first health supplement company that I ended up scaling, the second year we did like 23 million. Mulai was a part of it, so I wanted to say hi to her. But like I remember really early on, I went and I did the phones. I did customer service. It was like a weekend. We had a big email drop, and I didn't have like a full-time customer service team. And I realized that I had like all this traffic. My funnel, and nobody was there. So I went to we had a Regis, a co-working space at the time, went in, got on the phones and did customer service. It was one of the best things I ever did because I just learned so much about what my customers were really thinking. And, my offers at that time were super aggressive. I don't know if I'd say black hat, but very much gray hat. It was something where I, had to kind of eventually learn. It wasn't even that intentional. There's a bunch of stuff I didn't know I couldn't say. And I had to learn oh yeah, you can't say that. Right. But even with that being the case, I would talk to some of these folks, and all of them were seniors and 50 plus, 60 plus, and they'd be like, "Well, I know that the that ad it's kind of bullshit. It was really sensational, and I don't. That story seems crazy, but it was really entertaining. I'm so bored. It entertained me, and I figured, well, if I'm this entertained, then why don't I try the product out?" And I was like, "Cool." Because in your head, you think that it's oh, they're all taking this crazy sensational story literally, and they weren't, but they were entertained, and then there was enough of a promise. They were curious enough that they would keep going. And it was a powerful lesson about, right, the copy. Again, it really is a form of entertainment. Your ad copy is entertainment. And it's something that, people are entertained when something relates to them. If there's something is completely foreign to them, the way you're talking, it comes back to language. So, just building that real rapport and connection with somebody, it's just vital. And yeah, if you write like a 1950s madman, then you won't have it.
Love it.
Yeah.
And we are at number 5.
So number 5 is not including fascinations or curiosity bullets in your lead. This to me is the biggest secret trick or hack. It's a no-brainer, and yet so many people don't do it. So I'll give you concrete examples. Let's go back to the Slim Belly Cleanse one, the one about hidden constipation, right? So as we go through the lead, we're talking about all this stuff. We have all right, you need to pay. So really, it doesn't matter how old you are or whether you're a man or a woman. This is still in the lead towards the end of the lead. You need to pay close attention to what I'm about to share. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to give you a simple six-question quiz, something that can help you determine if you might be suffering from hidden constipation. And more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly what you can do about it by handing you an easy, proven way to speed up your digestion from the comfort of your own home in about 20 seconds. But then we keep going. We say here, in fact, I'll share why most cleanses and detoxes are a scam in a second. Plus, in a few moments from now, I'll also reveal the truth about whether there's 5 to 20 pounds of toxic old poop stuck in your colon right now. You'll find out what a lazy stomach is and why one of America's most celebrated medical doctors thinks it could be an energy vampire that's leaving us exhausted without our knowledge. And you'll see why some of our most stubborn belly fat may not actually be fat at all. All that and more is coming up, so let's jump right in, right? So in a case like this, we just have those little kind of curiosity bullets, fascinations at the end. I'm going to give another example here. This one would be from the weight loss one. Okay, so I know everything I'm saying might sound a little too good to be true. This is again towards the end of the lead. Heck, it might even sound a little unbelievable, which is why I'm going to take great care to break down all of the research from places like the University of Tokyo, the British Journal of Nutrition, and the New England Medical Journal that backs up everything I'm saying. Plus, I'll also tell you how a rare North African vanilla molecule was found to boost the body's natural fat-burning activity by up to 450% in one study, the surprising connection between why newborns don't shiver and a slimmer waistline, and how an Italian ingredient found in a common breakfast drink could help support healthy fat loss. Hint, it's not coffee, tea, or orange juice. All that and more is coming up in just a minute. So the point is you got your big idea, right? So in Slim Belly Cleanse, it is hidden constipation. And the Slim Shred one, it's endangered fat. And I like to think of this as like an analogy like fishing. It's like, so you've got your big idea, your big hook, right? Hidden constipation is a big hook. Endangered fats is a big hook. So perfect. Your prospect's a little fish. They're swimming. You've got your big baited hook. You're hoping your prospect's going to just come right to that, bite onto it, like my sound effect. And you'll pull them through the rest of your promo to the buy now button. They'll click it and buy, right? But what happens if they kind of like are interested in that hook, but they're not sure, they're swimming around it, they're not positive if they want to take a bite or not? So if you don't have other curiosity bullets and fascinations in your lead, then you're really just hoping that one hook works. But when you add in more stuff like the rare North African vanilla ketone or vanilla molecule, or the surprising connection between why newborns don't shiver in a slimmer waistline, or the Italian breakfast drink ingredient, now you've got these other little hooks. So maybe your prospect swims by that first one, but they can't help it. They bite onto this one or this one or this one. You're giving yourself way more chances to catch your prospect and then reel them along, up to the buy now boat. So they get on the buy now boat and come with you and become a customer. And so when you think about it that way, and again, we think about how it's all about curiosity and creating itches and scratching it. Why would you not put some fascinations or curiosity bullets like that, in your lead pretty much every single time? All you're doing is increasing your chances of pulling the prospect with you. Even if they're already on board with the main big hook, that's just going to make them, it's like putting more hooks so that you really caught the fish now. There's no reason not to do it. And so that's a huge one that people don't do that often. I mean, it's like 50-50, but to me, it's like I would always have those fascinations or curiosity bullets in there.
No, I feel like I'm back in school. I took so many notes. I love it. So helpful. Fantastic. And I know we like to keep it at 1 hour. So if it's okay with you, I would love if we take some questions from our friends that were able to join in live.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. So we're ready, guys, whenever you are. Meanwhile, I have a couple that I got on Skype from my affiliates who are very private. All right. So John, any specific tool? Oh yeah, I remember this one. Okay. So what John was asking, he wanted me to check with you. So for native, we sometimes do, obviously we do the spy tools like your Plexity, blah, blah, blah. And then are there any tools that you would recommend us using when writing copy? I don't know, think of it like a headline generator or something like that. Do you use any tools basically? Or can you give us any examples of tools?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one really obvious one that's not like a big secret is this Facebook ads library, but I love to go and look at what my competitors are doing, what their ads look like, their style, all that kind of stuff. So, that's again, nothing groundbreaking, but I use it quite a bit, especially with Facebook ads. And even because like I'm not going to swipe them super hard, but it's like at least I can get the juices flowing creatively. If I see how their ads are and I'm like, oh, okay, right, I can do that too. One of my favorites, and this relates to kind of Saurabh's question about headlines too, but is Answer the Public. For those who don't use that, that's a great tool. So if you go to Answer the Public, I set the filter to US because I think the default is UK. But you basically type in like a phrase or a word, and it'll basically show you all the inquiries that people are searching in Google and search engines around that, and it kind of like ranks it by frequency too. So for example, for something like hidden constipation type thing, right? If I'm like, all right, this is about digestive health and bloating, so in poop, right? So if I type like poop, but it'll show you all these different, and it categorizes it. So it'd be like, so many people are like, what does it mean if my poop is like, green? Or what does it mean if my poop is red? Or like, what are the different colors of poop and why? Or should your poop sink or float? Or like all of these questions that, people are asking Google kind of privately, but that you see, wow, like, that's actually, I can write all these ads around that, right? Like if the doctor, like, hey, should your poop sink or float? The answer might surprise you. Like, boom, easy, right? What does it mean if your poop's green? Like, should you be worried? Well, here's the truth. Like, and you can do, for bloating, like, weight loss, like, anything, right? There's income, like biz op stuff, like any category or niche. So I love Answer the Public a lot for that. Let's see here. So that's
as well. And if you don't mind, if you want to read it out loud, because a lot of our friends are listening on Spotify, they might not see the question. So before you answer, please make sure we.
Well, you can facilitate too. I started just going like I was going to just like answer questions without. I'm just so used to like doing calls, but you can feel free to facilitate if
Awesome. Great. So one of our affiliates, Mada, is one of our account managers, and our affiliates are private. So we told them, just give us the questions on Skype and we'll ask you. So one of our affiliates just asked, what is better to focus on, headlines or the images? Better conversion. I think what they're asking, in an ad, you'll see the headline and then whatever thumbnail, by image, they mean thumbnail, because we always pay a lot of attention to the specific thumbnail. If you had to pick one, I know both are important, but what do you think is more important to really make the person pause and read the rest of the ad?
Yeah, it's tough because they are both. Ideally they're equally weighted, I would say, really. But to be completely transparent, if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick, I think the image is more important, but the headline still has to at least be relevant. It can't be, if it's not a relevant, congruent headline, like even but even say your headline's a 5 out of 10 and your image is a 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, that's going to do way better than if your headline's a 9 or 10 out of 10, but your image is like a 3 or a 4 out of 10, I think, because it's a visual medium if we're talking about, Facebook ad or a native ad, things like that. So in those cases, I honestly think the image is more important, but they are both very important.
Right. It's just to get them enough to stop. As they're scrolling through ads, the image will get them to stop, and then the headline will hook them. All right. Next question. Do you think copy can sell without using the "your life is in danger" approach?
Yeah, I do. I honestly, I've gone away from most of that. Like, I'm not at all shading on the dramatic, like it starts and the guy's on the treadmill and falls down and you hear the beep, beep, and like, John, and he wakes up in the hospital and the doctor is always saying how terrible things are. Right. Like, no shade. I'm not, I'm like truly, I was like, I'm never going to judge anybody or throw shade on it. Right. That stuff can work and work quite well. But I don't really do that kind of like marketing anymore. I did in the past and again, no shade on it. But yeah, I think really though, it's about curiosity. I think so. I got to curiosity. It's like create a lot of curiosity and then, really demonstrating that you understand your prospect's pain point, their real, true, deep pain point, and promising that you're going to solve it in a unique way, in a way that nobody's told them that it can be solved before. I think you get around the sort of most, the darkest, like, oh, you're going to die type stuff by still capturing the pain point and then really hitting them with a lot of curiosity. And then, and then it depends on the medium as well too. Like it's harder, like for email drops, right? If you're like, you have a great curiosity heavy sort of sales letter around like blood sugar, but you're going up against like miracle 5-day diabetes cure with like crazy story. It's like, it's no matter what, like that one's probably going to beat your great curiosity one on email. You know, not every time, but a lot of times it's just hard, you know, going back to claims, it's hard to compete with a claim that's like reverse your diabetes in 5 days. You're like, well, shoot, I mean, how do I, if I'm just saying, hey, this will support healthy blood sugar, and they're saying this is going to reverse diabetes in 5 days, it's hard for me to win that battle. So it comes back to like the traffic sources, the affiliate relationships, and things like that, because there's also plenty of, you know, large list owners out there who are like not comfortable promoting miracle diabetes cure over here, but they're totally happy to promote your thing. And they understand that it may not convert quite as well as the miracle cure will, but you know, they're like, but they sleep better at night promoting your offer than this offer. And, you know, there's compliance and legal issues and all that kind of stuff too. So, so it's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, absolutely. But, you know, you have to look at the realities of where the traffic's coming from and things like that as well.
Absolutely. I happen to agree. All right. When looking for improvements on copy, what is the thing you are checking? Conversion rate, time spent on the page. I can tell you what we're doing. So I think the question is more from like the affiliate perspective, like when improving the copy for us is the EPCs and conversion rate, not as much as the CPA. Probably when you check like for Facebook ads, I'm thinking is time spent on the page or how many people actually purchase the product, right?
Yeah. Yeah, both. I mean, really, it comes back to the same metrics. I mean, for me as an offer owner or as a copywriter for my client, it's like, I mean, the metrics really what like whatever metrics that is needed for the offer to scale. Which, you know, if we're running a lot of affiliate traffic, it's gonna come back a lot of times to EPC, right? So if my EPC is $1.30 and, you know, competitors offers EPCs like $3, I'm like, well, crap, I got a lot of work to do because, you know, it's gonna be hard for me to scale with this $1.30 EPC. But as far as copy elements, then if I'm like, okay, now I want to improve the EPC or the conversion rate or things like that, right? Then it would usually come down to the headline and the lead first, because if you look at it like a funnel, it's that the most people are seeing the headline and the lead. As you go further down, you know, there's always going to be a drop off no matter what. So that's why we always focus on the headline and the lead first, and you know, you get the biggest movement there versus your mechanism or the close or like the other stuff. Like that stuff can be important too. But really, I'd focus on the, you know, kind of top of, not top of funnel, but top of the letter, top of the copy. And then on video, it's like drop off rate, like engagement rate after 15 minutes, how many people are still here, you know, how many people make it to the first call to action button, to the second call to action button, you know, are there big drop off points? That stuff's all valuable, but ultimately, you know, it comes down to just those basic metrics like EPC and stuff like that. I mean, like, you know, either it's working or it's not working in a way.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I feel like we're going to need to do another one, and that one is going to be all question and answers. And because we have live, you need to say yes and commit to it now.
I would love to. It's super fun. I love doing this stuff. You can hear I talk fast. I have a lot of energy, but it's because I just like, I love talking about this stuff. It's a lot.
You know what? That's how all of us are here in this community. We're huge nerds when it comes to talking about traffic and copy and anything that will get our EPCs and conversion rates up. So I appreciate you so much for taking the time. And everyone, I know there are a few more questions. I promise we'll try to get to them, and we will have Stefan back 2022. We'll schedule an hour long, just questions and answers, I promise. But to close this out, I have just one more question for you. If you want our friends to take away one thing from our chat today, our beautiful 1 hour of nerding over copy, what would that be?
Oh man, make your copy like fun, which I include with the curiosity and things like that. Like you can tell when somebody writes a lead, especially let's say, and you can tell they're just going through the motions and they're trying to check like everything off the list, but there's no personality or like fun with it. If you're not like having fun writing the copy, or your copywriter's not, or you don't have fun reading the copy, it's almost always it almost always doesn't convert. And so, don't feel like you need to put like boxing gloves on, or restrain yourself. Like kind of go for it and have fun and let that come through. I just, like not everything's going to work. Like that's the big part too, right? I have a really good track record of like, I don't know what I'm batting. Like I bet like 500, 600 where like one in every two offers at least like works, which is really hard to do I've read hundreds of sales letters, right? That's like, it's pretty wild. Now not every single one of them is like a home run out the gate. Sometimes like they're pretty good. And then I go through and write another lead. Again, the leads are so important. And sometimes things are just like, we can't figure it out. And it's like, I don't know. It just didn't work. I wish I was batted 1,000, but I don't, right? At 500, I'll have to take it. So because of that, don't be afraid to kind of like have fun, to put personality into it, because like, it's okay if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that everything's screwed, that you wasted your time or your money. It just means you've got to test or reiterate or iterate. I mean, like all you got to do is try some more leads after that. That lead didn't work. No big deal. Try 3 more leads. One of them may work way better. We see it all the time. I've seen things go from like, converting like a 1 out of 1,000 to converting at like, 5% by literally changing the lead. I mean, there's massive, I don't know the math on that, but there's massive wins simply by shifting the lead. So, don't be afraid to kind of take big swings and inject personality into what you're doing.
That was fantastic. Well, thank you again so much.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. This is a blast. And thanks for everybody who watched it live or who's going to listen to it, on Spotify later. Really had fun.
Absolutely. That's, I wanted to add, everyone, you're going to be able to watch it again on Facebook, in our Facebook channel. It's going to be on all the media podcast platforms out there. We have it on Google and Apple and Spotify. So please make time later to go through everything. I know I will, because I have 3 pages of it and I'm very excited. So thank you again. Love you guys, everyone that was live with us. I know it's super late for a few of you, so we appreciate you. And Stefan, thank you again. You are such a charming human, and I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. It was my pleasure. Thanks, everybody.